Warning, this is a review of Mod Pie. This and all of the new 26 episodes do not use any audio, video, or clips from Friendship is Magic, seeing that they belong to Hasbro Studios and DHX Media. And, by the way, for those who have not seen the episode to this point, beware of spoilers, because they're all over the place. And this one might be a little fun. Rate, comment, favorite, subscribe. Well, guys, how did you like that episode? Was it entertaining for you? Because boy howdy it was for me. Kinda. This is what happens when you give Ben Stein a female pony. It sounds weird, although it is not voiced by Ben Stein. Bummer. This episode introduces us to one of Pinkie Pie's sisters, Maud, who Pinkie in the first three makes her sound very interesting, but in truth, she's not. The main hook is they used to make rock candy necklaces made of actual rocks. Which is funny. I never thought such a girlish kindergartner type thing would be done by reasonable adults, but hey, it's a kids show, right? So when Maud actually shows up in Boneyville, she's rather slow and talks like this for the entire episode. Her monotone, dry, uninteresting voice is very draining and annoying. But it really shows off how disinterested she is in things that don't involve rocks. As the Harmony Six are shocked by how boring she is, they each try to figure out a way to get her to lighten up a bit in their own interesting ways, with each one being individually broken. The three highlights are Rarity trying to make some high class fashion when all that Maud wants is a dirty dish towel. And Rainbow Dash having a rock throwing competition with her. Once again, rocks. She beats her and says, "I don't like winning." I could just imagine the memes that are gonna come out of this one. But the one that mostly sticks out for me is the poems. All of them rocks. All of them. Which seemingly breaks the hyper smart and hyper over attempted Twilight. I guess that's how you stop an alicorn princess from being overly excited. Just talk about poems of rocks. It's really interesting. Not. But naturally, when it's time for the girls to come clean, they at first don't want to do it. I wonder why. Because it might break Pinkie's overexcited heart, which it does. And we see the return of deflated Pinkie, also known as Pinkamena Diane. But only for a second as Pinkie with her overexcitedness recovers and builds an obstacle course that seems straight out of the TV show Double Dare. Even down to rock climbing, busting through obstacles, and even a slime slide of sorts made of apple cider. But when Pinkie gets trapped in one of the obstacles, mainly the rock climbing portion, it almost looks like she's gonna be crushed to death. Whoopee. But Maud, showing extreme care for her family member, comes in at lightning speed and saves the day. And ultimately comes clean that although she may not be as emotional, she really cares about her sister ultimately, which the girls follow her all the way back to the boring rock farm. And you can see where she gets the excitement from. Look how dull it is. This is the first time since the Cutie Mark Chronicles that we've seen the rock form in visual form. Yeah, we saw it also in Magic Duel, but only as a thought bubble and a flashback. So that really doesn't count here. And you can see where she gets her personality from. Growing up in a place that boring, I would sound monotone too. The girls finally rally over Maud's love for Pinkie, and ultimately end up making the necklaces anyway. Yay. But we find out at the end of each of the episode that Maud doesn't even eat the candy necklaces. She keeps them as a form of sentimental value. Something to remember her weird and eccentric sister by. This episode is like a seesaw of the same personality gone to extremes. You get the extremely overexcitedness, but also you get this, the extremely boring part, and seeing how both personalities and both tones bounce off each other is strangely funny, but also strangely interesting. Could this have been what Pinkie Pie would have became if she would have spent her whole life on that boring farm, doing nothing except moving rocks, which is boring. And also, it really shows that the girls can solve problems without being nitpicked throughout the whole way. The new writer, and yes, this is the sixth new writer this season, really pulled off each of the characters' personalities perfectly. She really understood how to use Pinkie and spots, which is really shocking considering less of Pinkie is good for the show. She actually made it work. Yay. And yes, Maud does have a pet rock. Nice 80s reference, writers. You really love knocking at the pop culture door every week, don't you? You find it interesting. More than this review's tone of voice, probably. But all in all, it's really impressive and also brings up quite a few things. Things about family and relationships and how sometimes you can have that one weird sibling that doesn't make any sense. Not necessarily the black sheep, but, you know, the one that you can't explain vocally or visually. You almost have to see it to believe it. And then, when you finally meet them, they're completely different than what you originally thought, which brings an amazing shock to the system. The way the girls handled it is actually quite appropriate considering the situation. They could have been big old big old losers about it and told Pinkie straight up that they weren't interested. Kinda like she was. But it stands to reason that they patiently figured it out. And once again proves that Pinkie Pie's family is just weird like that. If Maud's like that, I wonder what the other two sisters are like. They're probably somewhere around the middle. But that's the funny thing about families. You have the outgoing ones, and then you have the boring ones, and then you have the ones in the middle. It's usually the ones in the middle that are easy to relate to, while the ones on the other ends of the spectrum can be very difficult. But nobody gets along with the black sheep. Nobody. It's kind of funny. 2 episodes in a row have expressed family values and family relationships, while some pony to watch over me failed at executing this. Maud Pie has actually executed quite confidently and beautifully without being too funny or too serious. A nice middle ground. For yes, get this, the second time this season, Pinkie Pie has come out really ahead. Although the thing that people will remember from this episode is the dry, monotone delivery of Maud Pie. It really makes me want to go play something very exciting on my Xbox, or find a Weird Al video to listen to. Something a little less boring than this. So I'll get this boring, semi-monotone review out of the way. I give this week's episode Maud Pie 4 out of 6. Yes, it's the same grade as Some Pony to Watch Over Me, but it's a much higher 4 than last week. This one is done more confidently with no character breaks. And oh, I can already see the jokes from Maud coming a mile away. Twitter and the YouTube universe are gonna have fun with this one. Another great addition to the character building that we all know and love from the show, while still being funny and yet entertaining enough. Although Maud's monotone delivery might make you want to press mute every time she speaks, it's interesting to actually see her opinion. And you'll never look at rocks. Yes, rocks the same way. Now, next week for the new 26 is To Whom the Sweetie Belle Tolls, a Sweetie Belle episode. This could either go one of two ways, and I know I'll be able to talk in normal voice next week. I just thought it might be funny and appropriate to talk like Maud the entire review. So what did you think of Maud? And does this change your entire opinion of the Apple family? Leave your comment and your response down below in that boring thing called the comment section, where all you can do now is put words in it. Thanks, Google. I'd like to throw a rock at your face for some of the choices you've made, but I'm already sick of rocks. Until next week, with no rocks, find peace in your own nirvana. Thanks for watching.